All right, everyone. Today we are learning how to do a word plot. And as you can see, I have opened a browser window to awwapp, so awwapp.com. Here are my tools on the side of the window. This is for color. This is for the size of the tool I'm using. So this also controls the size of the text. If I want, I'm going to pick kind of a big size just to show you all. And this is to show what tool I'm using. The pencil tool is a pencil, and you can go ahead and click undo if you don't like what you've done. The eraser tool works just like a regular eraser. You have to scribble it out. Let me get everything here. The text tool is a little bit tricky. When you type a piece of text, if I click over here and try to type something again, it's not going to work. I can move it, but it won't let me start a new text box until I hit enter. And then this piece of text that I did, it's frozen. I can't move it anymore. If I try to grab it or something, it thinks that I'm working with this new text box that I did. So remember, you can only move it after while you're working with it. Once you hit enter, it's frozen and it's on the page and I can't use it again. So I'm going to erase both of those. And when you erase, you have to use the eraser just like you had written on a whiteboard. And that's the intro to the tools we're going to use today. Today we're doing a word plot. A word plot is a graph to show you where you group words according to their connotation and denotation. So let me go ahead and get my right tools. First, I'm going to start with a pencil tool because I need to draw a couple lines. And it's okay if, oh man, it's okay if your lines aren't perfectly straight, and if you really messed up like I did there, you can always hit undo. Now I'm going to label each end of the graph. And remember that I have to hit enter after I do these words. So I'm going to say one end is negative. And before I hit enter, I'm going to move it. There you go. And then this end is going to be positive. Then I'm going to say that this line measures if an action is fast or slow. So at the top, I'm going to type fast. I think I want to move that up a little bit and hit enter, so it's all done. And down here, I'm going to type slow. Maybe move that so it's on the line. Enter. Now, if you've completed the first part of your assignment, you know that you're supposed to look at the two poems that we're talking about today. I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud on page 35, and then Until I Saw the Sea, which is on page 36. And for each of those poems, you need to create a list of the verbs involved. After you've got that list, then you're going to come here to the whiteboard. And I want you to place a dot on the whiteboard for each word in the poem. So you can see here in your assignment, this is where you would list your verbs. And I'm not going to use verbs from the actual poem because I want you guys to do that yourself. But I do want you to see that we're using two different poems here. So let's say that I'm going to choose a word. And the example I have on your worksheet is whipped. And since I think whipped kind of has a negative connotation, and then also it's a very fast action, I'm going to put a dot right up here. Oops, I'm in the text tool. Oopsies. Just hit escape if that happens to you. So go ahead and select your pencil tool to create a dot. And now I'm going to select my text tool, and I'm going to say this is whipped. I'm going to move it. Then, so you take one word from your first poem, and when you do your words from your second poem, I want you to make them a different color. So let's say that a word from the second poem is flu. And I'm going to say that flu has a positive connotation for me, and it's also something that happens really fast. Since it's in the second poem, it's going to be a different color. Here, let me get my line there. So there's my dot, and then I label it flu. And I'm going to move that so it's up by the dot. This is what you're going to do for every verb in the poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, and every verb in the poem, Until I Saw the Sea. So let's go ahead and do just one more so you can see the example. Remember to change to your pencil tool to create the dot, and I'm going to pretend to use a word from the first poem, so it's going to be black. And I'm going to say the word, I forgot to change my color. So I'm going to go ahead and hit undo. Remember to change it, because as I'm saying, it's from the first poem, so I need it to be black. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to say that this word, and remember I'm making these up, these aren't actual words from the poem, is trudged. Because for me, trudging is something that happens very slowly, and also it has a negative connotation. Usually people who are trudging are in a bad mood. They're not wanting to do whatever they're going to go do. And so then I'm going to change it to blue and do a word from my other poem. Oh my, you can see that I forgot to change the color for the... When I changed the color to blue, I hadn't hit enter yet on this word. Now that I've hit enter, I've stopped playing it. So, oh man, it's a little tricky. Enter. There you go. Now we're done. Now, since I'm going to be doing something from the second poem, I'm going to change it to blue, and I'm going to say that the word from the second poem is jumped. And jumped has a positive, I don't know if jumped has a positive or a negative connotation, so I'm going to just put it in the middle. Oops, I forgot to select my dot tool. So select the pencil, and there's my blue dot because it's from the second poem. And then here's my text, and it's blue too. Because jumped, you can jump when you're happy, or you can jump when you're scared, so I kind of put it near the middle, because to me it's kind of a neutral word. It doesn't have a super positive or a super negative connotation, but it is something that happens kind of fast. I guess I could have put it up a little higher. Maybe I'll do that. And I'll just erase that other word. Let me hit enter, so I'm done with that word. I'm going to, oh man. That's the biggest drawback to this tool, is you have to hit enter right away, otherwise it doesn't remember that you did it. So since it happens kind of fast, I decided to move it up there. So that is how you create a word plot. What you need to do is to plot every verb that you see in I Wandered as Lonely as a Cloud and Until I Saw the Sea. So this is something you're going to fill out on your worksheet. And then it has instructions here on the worksheet that I just showed you all these things. I just walked you through what the tools are and how to use them. It says, make your graph, and here's an example plot. So you're going to graph the verbs in each poem. Remember to use different colors to represent which verbs belong to each poem. After you finish, there are a couple of questions, and I want you to look at the pattern in your word plot and see, can we tell anything about the tone of the different poems, about the mood of the poems in the plot? So if we just look at my example, you can see that so far in the words that I use in my fake poems, for the poem that was black, it has there are some slow words and some fast words, but they're all negative words. Whereas in the blue poem, they're all a little bit, they're not all fast, but they're all over here in this first corner, right? So, and they're all pretty positive words. So from that, I could say, well, the poem that I represented in blue, and you would give me the title of the poem, has a positive mood because all of these are positive words. And you might find some more interesting things. That's a pretty basic finding, and I really want to hear your thoughts about how this tool can show you the mood of the poem. So it asks you, do you see any kind of patterns? Are the verbs from the different poems in similar or different places on the word plot? And then I ask you to label the mood of the poem and tell me why. The last question is for you to take a screenshot, which is the print screen button, I put it in quotes, of your word plot and just paste it into the assignment. All right, please return to our Class Connect if you have any questions. If you're watching the recording, please K-mail me or IM me.